Okay. Good afternoon. Good evening. Sorry. My name is Evelyn Calugay. I'm from the Filipino Women's Organization in Quebec. Uh, our organization, we call it PINAI, which is that's the word we use, a Tagalog word that we use to recognize a Filipino woman when we are abroad. So when we see somebody who looks like us, are you Pinay? And for the man, we call them Pinoy. Like if we want, if we see, yeah, the feminine and the masculine, but we don't have he or she in our language. It's like siya. There's no gender difference. But anyways. Pinay was formed in 1991 by domestic workers and caregivers themselves. And now we have more than 250 members. It was formed by this group, by the caregivers, because when they found out that they have similar issues that they have to deal with, then they say we need to get together and help each other to go forward and fight or promote and defend our rights as temporary workers, because they were mostly temporary workers. They were not immigrants, permanent residents. So in 1991, the first program was Foreign Domestic Movement. And that program was still, before 1991, was still lenient. Like, if they come here, they arrive here to work as a domestic worker, if the worker and the employer agreed and they like to each other, then the employer has the right to call the immigration and ask the immigration to send a form to apply for permanent resident, and the caregiver will become a permanent resident. But in 1991, when the conservative government was elected, they were changing. At first, they were going to make it like a temporary workers forever. As long as they have the job, then they can stay here for a long time, as much as they want, but they cannot be permanent resident. But because of the pressure of the community, because in the living caregivers, it's 98% are Filipinos, Filipino women, and so they lobby the government. And finally, they changed it to live-in caregiver. But they have to work 2 years live-in. And if they complete the required 2 years, 24 months of living in to work as a nanny or a caregiver, then they will be allowed to apply for permanent resident. But in 2014, when again the conservative was in the government, they changed it again into two-stream caregiver, like caring for the child and caring for the high medical needs. So these two programs, these two streams, the caring for the child has a lower the requirements of educational requirements, while the caring for with the high medical needs has a higher qualification, educational qualification, like nurses, healthcare workers who had an experience as a healthcare workers in other countries. They can apply in that streams. But this caring for the children doesn't have any more chance to apply for permanent resident, because they are considered low skilled. Here in Quebec, Quebec doesn't want to implement these programs. So they are not, they only allow, they only give certificate of selection if to an applicant who is a skilled worker, who had a Canadian experience, working experience as a skilled worker. So if they work as a, in the field of agricultural service sector and caring for children, then they are considered low-skilled workers. So Quebec won't give them the certificate of selection. So they won't be able to apply for permanent resident. And now that's the one that that PNAE is working on to see if we could pressure the government to allow them to apply for a permanent residence, because the live-in caregivers program was eliminated by the conservative. And the way we do it with our membership, majority of our members are caregivers in the temporary worker field. So there are so many issues that we have, like they are not covered with CSST. They are not, when their work permit expired, they don't have Medicare. They don't have their social insurance stops, and if they had they give birth to a child in Quebec and they lost their work permit or expired, their child doesn't get Medicare healthcare coverage. They don't get child tax benefits. So even if they were born here and considered to be Canadian, it goes to the child carries the status of the mother, who is a temporary worker. So another thing is the pregnancy. They are not they usually are not covered with the preventative leave. CSST always denies them. So there's so many issues that we have to do, and when we do campaigns, we use drama, play, theater play. We do it because to us it's more effective to talking to the public and making the public awareness. That's it.
Great. Any comments, questions? No.